Hey Tommy, guess what? The sexiest frickin' car in the world just debuted.
Yeah, it's pretty killer. This is the new 2022 Audi E-Tron, and in this video, we're going to show them what?
We're going to show them, well, we're going to show them everything about the car. We're going to go into the details. We're going to talk to you about the different models. We're going to talk to you about the performance. We're going to talk to you about, well, the battery. And of course, we're going to tell you whether we would want one or not. And yes, I do.
There is one issue.
What's that?
They give us like 2 pictures.
They only did give us 2 pictures, so we only have 2 pictures, but we do have a lot of B-roll of the concept, and that's very similar. So we'll show the concept, and then of course we'll show you the pictures, and then you can kind of make up your mind as to whether they've improved it or made it worse. Let's get right to it, okay? So this is a 2022 Audi E-Tron, and there will be 2 versions of it. Did you know that?
Yeah, and we should probably explain first of all that the E-Tron is a vehicle you can currently buy. It's like a big, heavy, comfortable SUV that's powered by batteries. But this vehicle is not really related to that in much at all. This is going to be a new line of cars, so the word E-Tron now is going to be applied to more than just a big, comfy, heavy SUV. It's going to be applied to this crazy looking thing.
Yeah, this is kind of the well, it's the Audi version of the Porsche Taycan. I mean, that's what it is. And there, like I said, there are 2 models. There's the GT and there is the RS e-tron. So why don't you talk about the e-tron GT highlights?
Yeah, so it's built to take on the Tesla Model S. And as you'd expect, there's a hot version called the RS e-tron GT. The standard power is nothing to scoff at, though. I mean, even the standard e-tron should be stinking quick. It's got 523 horsepower, and it's a dual motor layout. So what that means, there's one electric motor in the front and one electric motor in the rear. The front motor makes 235 horsepower, the rear makes up to 450, but because math doesn't make sense, you combine them and you get 523.
Yeah, that's the way electric cars work. 0 to 60 time, Tommy, of 3.9 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And there's also an overboost feature. Total torque is 465 foot-pounds of torque. And what's the top speed?
152 miles an hour. Now, there's a rumor out there that I've read, and I can't confirm it, that actually the show car that they showed in, I think it was 2 years ago in LA, was so freaking good looking that Porsche, because Audi's part of the VW group, and so is Porsche, actually made them tone down the looks of it because it was just too darn good looking.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
They didn't do that?
It looks exactly the same in my opinion. I mean, maybe they did a little bit, but yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, the Porsche guys are like, we are the company that makes the very fast cars. Apparently they turned French there at the end of the sentence. And then Audi was supposed to kind of be more of the subdued model, but this is not very subdued. This is one heck of a good-looking car. So why don't you tell them about the fast version, the RS?
The RS, yeah. Now we're talking 475 kilowatts with, get this, Tommy, 637 combined horsepower with overboost again.
Yeah, without overboost, it's 590. Same front motor as the entry-level GT, but what about the back?
It's a little bit more powerful. It puts out, 612 pound-foot of torque combined. Yeah, 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, which sounds really fast, but if you compare it to the new Tesla Model S Plaid that Tesla just announced, is now seemingly not that fast, because that car should do, well, Tesla's saying under 2 seconds, 0 to 60, if you can believe that.
Yeah, I think the current Model S performance is like
2.6. 2.5, 2.4.
I think it's 2.4.
Yeah, you're right. In ludicrous mode, in cheetah mode.
So let's talk about the standard features on the e-tron. So here in the US, we're getting 20-inch 5-spoke wheels. They're really cool. So one of the hard things about designing an electric car is you have to maintain the range. And by putting these big fancy wheels on them, oftentimes you sacrifice range. So what these manufacturers do is something called Aero Wheels, where they basically fill in parts of the spokes to make it more aerodynamic. You can see a little bit of that going on the new e-tron GT with these little kind of star patterns in the wheels, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the HD matrix design headlights that are available as an option. You first saw those on the A8 sedan. Whether it'll get laser lights or not, I don't know. I mean, they get them in Europe, and laser lights are these cool lights that actually can shift their pattern so that when oncoming traffic approaches, you don't blind the driver.
Other cool thing, 5-layer carbon fiber reinforced roof.
Yeah.
So not only are they kind of coming out with a beautiful design. They're incorporating a lot of new materials and technology into it, and when you step inside, this vehicle is going to have a 12.3-inch Audi virtual cockpit and a 10.1-inch touchscreen infotainment system.
And by the way, those laser lights are still illegal in the U.S.
What?
In some of the Audi models, they come with laser lights, but they have that feature deactivated because our government won't allow it.
So more performance details. Air suspension, 3-chamber air suspension with apparently 60% greater capacity than the standard E-Tron or E-Tron Sportback SUVs. I don't really understand that because this car is so low and sleek to the ground. Why do you need more capacity? But apparently that's what it has. There's also different spring rates for more comfortable or tighter ride depending on your steering situation. And you can adjust the ride height up to about 0.9 of an inch up or down.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, I think it was more than a couple of years ago, when every German car came with a dual clutch transmission, and then they decided that they're going to go back to automatics? Well, you know what the new trend in German cars is? All-wheel steering.
That's true, yeah.
Has it?
up to 2.8 degrees in the rear.
Moves in the opposite direction to the front wheels, up to 30 miles an hour, same direction after 30 miles an hour. So basically, you've got the front wheels, and if you're parking, they go like that to make it easier to park, and if you're going around a corner, they go like that. I had a 300ZX that had that feature.
There you go.
It was pretty cool. So it's nothing new. It's been around a long time, but now the Germans have taken a fancy to it, and you're seeing it in a lot of performance cars.
So there's also, believe it or not, a standard rear locking differential, which is going to be great when you're off-road.
You bet.
Now this is a performance thing this time, though. It's got multiple values in terms of its locking capability to keep the rear wheels spinning at the same time, at the same speed, for those mad skids that you're going to want to do. There's also an optional driver-controlled rear diff lock, so you can engage it manually on the E-Tron GT. But the controlled diff lock is standard on the RS too, and the locking range is from 0 to 100, 0 being completely open, 100 being completely locked. So when you hit the Rubicon Trail, you have that rear locker engaged, which is something the Land Cruiser doesn't have. I am kidding, of course.
Now we're going to get all like electric car friendly. So if you were watching this and this were a traditional car, we'd be talking about horsepower and pistons and turbos and superchargers, but instead we're going to be talking about kilowatts and battery packs. So you want to go into that, Tommy?
Yeah, so the capacity is 93.4 kilowatt hours. It's of course a lithium ion pack, same as the larger capacity battery available in the Porsche Taycan. My question is, though, when you look at EVs, there's a gross capacity and a net capacity, and the gross capacity is the total capacity, but because they don't want you to brick the car or damage the battery, they only let you access a certain percentage of that. So what percentage is Audi going to let you access of that 93.4? But there's no official range figures yet on the GT or the RS trim.
Yeah, usually they save like 10%, and since it's almost 100 kilowatt hour pack, it's usually 10.
Yeah, so like the Model S is about 100 kilowatt hours. I've read the Plaid is going to be bigger though. I've heard up to like a 125, but nothing official there.
Yeah, and then of course if you're looking at the Lucid, that's even bigger, the Lucid Air.
Monster battery.
Monster battery in that one. So it's, it's basically competitive with the main competitor, which is the Model S.
The other cool thing too is a lot of EVs run on a 400 volt architecture.
Like Tesla?
Yeah, but the E-Tron and the Taycan are going to run on the 800 volt architecture, which means you've got some insanely fast charging capabilities, up to 270 kilowatts of fast charging. That, according to Audi, will mean 5% to 80% charge in 22.5 minutes. And the cool thing about a lot of the Audi products is they do a good job of holding a high charge rate for a long time versus some of the Teslas, which can peak up to 250 and then they immediately drop down.
The version 3 superchargers go up to 250, but I would take that with a huge grain of salt because in our testing with both Tesla and with the Taycan, those numbers are far and few between. The battery has to be, at the optimal temperature. You have to have the right charger. God has to be smiling down on you before you ever get those kinds of numbers. And then, of course, the real question is how long can you sustain that number? Because the numbers drop off very quickly, and then, of course, supercharging quickly slows down. So once again, it's like, it's kind of like the top speed number. It says it's 155 miles an hour, but whoever actually goes 155.
Although from what I've read, Porsche and Audi do a good job of holding a high number for a long time.
They will tell you that they do the graph is more linear.
Yeah, the curve. Yeah. So let's talk about the pricing. How much is the base GT Premium Plus before destination?
It's expensive, Tommy.
Well, you figure so.
It's very expensive. It's $99. That's $100,000 basically.
$99,900, which is much more expensive than even the cheapest Porsche version, which comes in at about 80 grand starting.
That's a rear-wheel drive.
That is rear-wheel drive, yes, and all the Audis are going to be quattro. Yep. So 107,100 for the Prestige, and then the RS is going to come in at 139,900 starting.
Yeah, and available this summer, and you're looking, of course, at a $7,500 federal tax credit because Audi still has their tax credit.
Oh, yeah.
In Colorado, it's $3,500 more on top of that if you're eligible. So let's talk about kind of why these automakers are all fighting for the space that people aren't really buying, which is sedans. It's weird, right?
Well, I mean, I think what they're going for is like a coupe-like look. With the practicality of a sedan. And I'm excited about it. I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to buy it, but it looks a hell of a lot better than the E-Tron crossover. So, I mean, I'm not going to be complaining about them coming out with this beauty.
Yeah, and it will be built on basically the same architecture that the Taycan is built on. So you are going to have, Porsche-like reflexes and handling. And in our testing of the Porsche, we found it to be extremely capable and extremely stable at high speeds. Now, I guess I'm just wondering, with both the Model S Plaid coming, which is going to be crazy expensive, with the Lucid Air, which is going to be the first edition I think is $160,000.
Yeah.
With the Porsche, Turbo S, right, which this competes against, being $175,000 or $80,000.
Yeah, some crazy number.
And now this vehicle, who's buying these things? I mean, good gosh, Tommy, these cars are now getting into supercar pricing, if I get that we're trying to be environmentally conscious and switch to electricity, but these are for the super rich, if you ask me.
Yes, but I think they're trying to launch their Halo cars first, and then I'm hoping the more affordable models will come later. It's kind of that shoot for the stars, and then shoot for the stars and then make the affordable ones available later. Keep in mind, though, I think Porsche is selling the beans out of the Taycan.
4,000 units.
Which is like a lot. And worldwide, wasn't it like 20,000?
I might be 4,000. I don't know.
I think it's pretty good.
It might be 4,000 worldwide or 4,000 US.
It's a lot. Yeah, they're building a lot of them, though, for Porsche. I mean, it's 160 grand. $4,000. 4,000 cars is a lot of...
So let's just do the math. You're better at that. Ford sells 600,000 F-Series trucks in a year. How many a week is that?
Doesn't matter. They don't look like this.
How many? But how many weekends?
Doesn't matter. They don't look like
I'm
this.
Just saying. I mean,
this is way cooler than an F-Series truck.
F-150s, in a week than Porsche does.
Your F-Series truck will not go 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds.
Just you wait.
And it won't look like this either. I promise you that. Well, let us know what you think of the new e-tron in the comment section below.
Yeah, I think it's sexy as you know what, yeah, if I had $139,000 lying around, I might seriously consider it. But I think it's a car that hopefully we get to drive as a press loan, but we certainly will not be purchasing. As always, this is Roman.
And Tommy, check out TFLcar.com, maybe in the used market, for the latest and greatest in new and used car reviews.
True that. See you guys next time. Ciao.